we achieved gender equality in law a few decades ago. But since then, there has been barely any progress. Because we recognize that the media is powerful, we want equality not just in name, but in practice. And that is why avarice never justifies prejudice. We have three arguments. First, that we protect children and their choices. Second, that we promote gender equality. And third, that we empower parents. Before we begin, let's just define some terms. By children's TV programs, we refer to television series or programming targeted at children aged 0 to 12. And in the status quo, over 1 billion children watch television every day. The TV networks thus actively create these programs to target children with animations or other sorts of series. By gender norms, we refer to patterns of behavior that society stereotypically associates with individuals of a particular gender, be this in their careers or what they can or cannot do. I'm going to discuss this more in my argumentation. What is our policy? First, we would actively require children's TV programming to undermine traditional gender norms. This means that Bob the Builder may well become female. This means that Disney cartoons may feature princesses in shining armor saving knights in distress. We think that other ways this can happen, companies can figure it out for themselves. But I think this is all in the same way the state places regulations on violent content for teens and education, and advisory boards will be made available for parents if needed. Second, this does not preclude other efforts to promote gender equality or fight back against entrenched gender norms. We would ban gender-specific advertising in toy stores and mandate that those stores do not color code children's preferences or their options for attires. We also support education in schools and middle schools and preschools. Third, corporations that break our policy will be punished along a sliding scale of punishments, from fines to being taken off the air to being sued, and all of these mechanisms are a standard operating procedure. First argument, that we protect children and their choices. The first thing I'd like to get out of the way is the fact that states very often do impose conditions upon corporations for societal good. Why? Because we recognize that corporations only exist insofar as we think they can maximize our wealth, and that's how you do it. So when corporations don't do this, when they lead to harm, we very often regulate them and enforce conditions upon them anyway. That's why we force corporations to comply on regulations on pollution. That's why we force corporations to comply with non-discriminatory hiring policies. We think the physical harms of smog or the economic harms of not being hired are no greater than the emotional or psychological harms that accrue on a child because of a gender norm that is foisted upon him. I think Sweden already recognizes this in the way that they make all movies in Sweden have to pass the Bechdel test for women before they can be published. So, why would we therefore force companies to undermine gender norms? Because gender norms in society create lots of harm. Children, every day of their lives, are bombarded by these norms. Be it in sort of advertising they receive, in sort of societies they live in, it may even be their parents. The point is we don't think this sort of, imposition of gender norms comes about because people say, you must definitely, as a boy, be a doctor, and as a girl, you must definitely be a nurse. It is insidious. It happens over time. It is not that direct. But that is precisely the problem, because then these norms entrench themselves within the mind of the child. What are the harms of such gender norms? First, they alter a child's perception of his own choices, what he can or cannot do. We think this is most obvious in the case of careers which people choose. Because boys think, I must be a doctor or a soldier, and a girl thinks, I can't be that, I must be a nurse or a housewife. We think from a young age, children are taught to believe that some choices which they want to make are unacceptable. Second, we think in terms of modes of behavior, how they interact. We think very often these gender norms are just as damaging. When boys are told they must be masculine, that they cannot ask for help when they need emotional support, that somehow, if they do so, they are be acting as a damsel in distress. And when girls are told that they must be linear, that they cannot take decisions and make active choices for themselves, because every single children's show that does a thinking woman has that thinking woman as an evil, scheming witch. We don't think that's something we support. It's incredibly harmful because it stunts the emotional growth of children. And it's especially for children who don't want to conceive of themselves along these gender norms, who don't identify this way, that we think these norms impose upon them and limit their conceptions of self, especially for groups like LGBTQs who may not identify along such areas. Our policy is much better. Why? We are not a panacea. Our policy will not remove all gender norms immediately. Hold on, we never said that. But I think our policy helps in multiple ways. Before I explain why, yes.
Surely, television programs are currently meeting some sort of demand. You don't take away that demand, how do you still change society?
Okay, I mean, we don't think people watch television programs and think, I will only watch this program if it shows knights in armor and princesses in distress. They watch the program because, they think the storyline is quite nice. They think if you change this, they are still going to watch that program. The things they want from that program will still be there, but now the coding which you do within that program has changed for the better. There are 3 reasons. 1, children are still growing. This is when they are most malleable, when their perceptions are being formed. I think this is the most important age to change those perceptions, to broaden their view of what they can and cannot be. Second, because television programs are very often where children get the most amount of information on societal structures and conceptions. No, the average child spends 4 hours in the US watching television. This is where they often get their moral guidance and truth from. And finally, because TV has a huge amount of reach for lots of children, and I think that's why it affects the most number of children and helps them and protects their choices. Second argument on gender equality. As I pointed out, we think we've made progress up to the point of equality in law, but we somehow seem to have stopped there. Why? Because the media continually reinforces stereotypes that women should be like this or that men should be something else. The problem with this is it perpetuates gender norms which actually have real-world effects on how people interact with others, how they perceive others, and therefore what these people can do. So, for example, we think on a very obvious count, it hurts women because it leads to huge disadvantages in the workplace, when women who make decisions are being viewed as somehow not being womanly, or when women are shut out of masculine industries like being a doctor or entering science and technology. But more importantly, we think it also hurts men and boys. Why? Because an 11-year-old child who cries is told by his classmates that he is being a sissy, that he should get over it, because that is not messaging inherent to these TV programs at this point in time. Because a boy who dislikes violence and who decries it is taunted by his friends and told that he should not be such a girl. We think you limit the ability of these individuals to actualize, and you create perceptions in society where other people perceive them as betraying this gender norm, when other people perceive them as breaking up of the accepted mold of what they should be. Why are we better? Why? Because we change the conception of what people can and cannot be. So you are less likely to taunt someone for breaking this gender norm because that gender norm has been weakened. 2, because we create role models in these TV programs for boys or girls who want people to look up to look up to. Right? It is much better for a boy to be able to say, I need emotional support, and the TV program which I watch, and his hero does seek emotional support because he's not blinkered by those gender norms within that TV program. So, we are pro-choice and protect children. We promote gender equality. I am so proud to propose.